So let's get started. Let's go through our supply list of what we're going to need for this particular project. I've got my trusty scissors. I have a piece of cording that I'm going to use that's going to act as a hanger. You could use a ribbon of your choice. Moving on, I have a couple of threads that we will be using. This is a Gutterman thread. It is CA02776. The color is called Old Rose. It's absolutely beautiful. Also, I may play with this one. I'm not really sure. Not sure if the colors are really going to work or not. It is a rayon sulky thread. It's peach and it's variegated. So the color just changes throughout, which is always kind of a neat effect. So let's put that to the side. I had an old doily that we will be using. As much as I hate to cut some of these pieces up, you also have to think about it. You're giving it a new life. So we are going to give this doily a brand new life. It's probably been around for a really long time, and we just want to continue to use its beauty as long as we can. I have an actual metal key that I'll be using. This is from a gun cabinet that my father owned whenever he was alive. I have this piece of fabric that I'm going to use as the backing. It was solid white. I didn't have anything off-white on hand, so I did soak this material in some espresso for a couple of hours. Let it dry overnight and ironed it out, and I really like the effect that I came out with. So we're going to use this as the backing. And then the star of the show are these beautiful quilt pieces that I picked up at an antique store years ago. I have had these old quilt pieces for years. I actually originally had 4 of them. One has been made into a teddy bear for a baby shower for a little girl, and so I had 3 left, and they are the same design but just different colors, a little different coloring there, but I think they are absolutely beautiful, and I'm really excited to give these pieces a new life as hopefully something very beautiful that pays respect to the original person that hand stitched this gorgeous quilt. I want to make just a puffed heart out of these with some stitching, some extra stitching that we're going to do, and then putting the hanger on so that it can be hung from a doorknob or a handle of a drawer or something along those lines. So I'm going to be using, basically, this already creates that natural heart shape. So I will be cutting from there. And I'm thinking, let's look at this other one. I'm really thinking that I want to use this one that has the darker shades on it. So we are going to put this other one over to the side to be used for another project. Now let's see if there is a particular place that I want to cut my heart from. They're all very similar. It's a very well done quilt. So I think we will just start from this end. This end has a dingy spot right there, so that will actually get rid of that, and we can save the rest of the quilt square for a project for another day. So let's just jump right in here. And I want a little room left on either side so that I can stitch this together however we're going to stitch it. I'm not 100% sure what we are going to do yet, but we will figure that out as we go down this little journey. So I just want to make sure that I am taking enough, but still retaining plenty to do something else with later. So let's see, here we go. And we're going to lay this over to the side to be used This is driving me crazy, so I'm going to just put my water cup right here. So let's cut out our heart. Again, we're leaving a little extra on there so that whatever we decide to do later, we have some extra material available for sewing. This together. Oh my goodness. This, I can already tell you, I just think that this is going to be beautiful. Oh, look how sweet. Let's just put this to the side and think about it. I don't know what we might do with a little piece like that, but we will consider it. All right, so we've got our initial heart. I was wanting to maybe do something like this, where we just stitch, do a nice little stitch around these just to add some decorative. Not sure where I want that, but I want that up higher like this. Maybe the key hanging in the middle. What I want to bring you down here. What do you think? What would you do if this was your piece? Let's see. I'm kind of liking it where this would come down and meet in the middle, but we have to make sure we stay out of our sewing line. We put a backing on this. So let's see, if I sew those right there, then we can go in and add this piece in. So it's the key to my heart. Oh, how sweet. First we are going to this guy over to the side, and I'm going to pin these just so they don't move on me while I am working on this project. So let me grab some pins. You know what? I've got some right here. How convenient. So let's just kind of pin this where it just isn't going to move around for a moment. There's one, and let's get the second one. Okay, there we go. So we are going to take and do some stitching. I think I want to do another more prominent stitch around here to outline the entire heart, and then I want to stitch these pieces on. I don't know that it matters one way or the other which I do first. So let's go ahead, since we have these pinned and we can get those removed, we will do those. I am actually going to use a similar color thread for these two pieces. You know, I think you could use anything. You could use the pink, the yellow would even be nice. I always love a little bit of yellow in anything. I just think it's the happiest color. I'm not going to worry as much about the back of this because, like I said, we are going to, if I need to anyway, we are going to put this on the back, possibly. We will see. We will see. I'm going to go in between these quilt layers right here to actually hide the knot that I created in my thread and just pull that through. So now you will not be able to realize where the actual thread even started. And to be truthful, I could just catch this upper loop so you don't even see any of this on the top as I stitch this piece on. So let's get started. I am thinking, here we go, just going to maybe stitch around here and keep this as an invisible stitch for the most part, where you don't really even see how this is stitched on. It could be pretty to add a more of a decorative stitch. So I will just go around here and get this connected, both pieces. For this piece of the project, if you really did not want to do this, you could use a fabric Mod Podge to adhere to fabric. If you were going to do that, you would just want to be careful because fabric Mod Podge is shiny. So you would just make sure that you were covering the correct amount of room, the amount of space that you're looking to cover, so that you don't see, at least on a project like this that's older and more vintage, you wouldn't want that shiny element. However, you may be doing something similar that you wanted to be shiny, in which case it really wouldn't matter as much. It's just one of those cases where this is something where you do you. You just need to do whatever makes your heart happy. It's your project, and it's just a matter of what pleases your eye. I love these romantic quilts. I love all these romantic fabrics and colors. I just the roses and the amethyst and the purples, all the different purples, the off-whites and the pale yellows. Romantic colors, I don't know. I just love them. So we are finishing up these last couple of stitches, and I'm just going to need to tie this off. And the way that I'm going to do that, let's just pick up a stitch right here. And we will come back through that thread and just knot that off a little bit. I'm going to bring this out to the end, and we'll just leave that thread tucked in there, so we shouldn't have any problems with this. Let me just put this needle over here that we were just using. So if you take a look, we've got our heart doily piece stitched on. You can't see the stitches. They're invisible unless you just really got in there and wanted to look at it. And from the back side, you cannot see because I took advantage of all these beautiful layers to hide those stitches on the back. So now let's think about next steps. I need to decide if I want to have a nice finished edge right here, and I'm gonna have this for the back. I could sew these wrong sides together, and do a stitch and then turn it inside out, or we could show the stitch, just do wrong sides together, excuse me, and put a nice little stitch around here, and then cut all of that down, and maybe frazzle this other material a bit more, just to have that used material look. Since I was having such a hard time making a decision about that backing, I decided a cup of tea would help. So nice and cozy. Something about fabric and hot tea and quilting and all those types of things that just make you feel cozy on a winter day. So let's sew on this key, shall we? I'm actually using the rayon thread, which is a little peachy color. I'm hoping it's still going to work. I'm using it because it's a little shinier, like the key. Maybe a bad decision, but we can always take it out. It's thread, right? So I'm going to do the same thing I did earlier. I do already have the one stitch showing back here, but I'm not going to go all the way through my fabric layers to sew this key on. And I'm going to sew, I believe I'm going to sew between this notch and this notch, and then I am just going to leave the rest of the key hanging so that it's actually loose instead of tied down. So let's continue to do that. We are going to we put a small knot in this thread, and we are just going to take the next, take this needle underneath here just to finish this part off. I'm going to pull, and I'm just going to tug when I get to the knot. That knot is going in between the layers of fabric, and should just stay put, and then we can just hide the thread back in there. So I'm going to put this needle over to the side, and I really wish that I went in between the layers to get this started, just because I like the front and the back to both look good, but they didn't. So maybe that makes our decision on whether we put it back on this piece or not. So I guess now we are putting it back on this piece to finish it up. To add a little more interest around the heart, we are going to do a back stitch, and we are using the Old Rose 100% cotton thread that we found. So let's just, I've already added a knot to my thread. I am going to go through this piece, through the layers again, once again, to, I don't know, just as much out of habit as anything, but we are just going to hide that knot in there. And then we are just going to do a back stitch. I think we're just going to do a back stitch all the way around this so that our stitches will be meeting. You could do this with a sewing machine and just do a certain type of decorative stitch if you like. So basically what I am doing is I'm going out a little in front, a little bit in front of the last stitch that I put down, and bringing my needle through, and then coming back and entering the fabric where that last stitch ended. So hopefully that makes sense if you are trying to do the same stitch. So I'm going a little bit further in advance of the last stitch. So there's the last stitch. Putting my needle in. You try to keep them relatively even, and then I will go back in where the last stitch ended. So we are just going to continue to go all the way around our heart, and then we will proceed to next steps when we get finished with that process. So we have about made our way all the way around. If you're doing this project with me, you may not be close to a finishing point just because I will have speeded this up a bit, but you could always hit pause until you catch up, and then we can continue on together. So let's just keep going here, just a couple of more stitches. I think we are done. I do want to clean up. Let me just get this paper right here so I want to clean up where I have edged that out. And I've decided to keep that extra edge that I had left on there, thinking that I was going to be using a sewing machine and sewing that on. But I'm just cleaning up where I had rough cut it before and just rounding it off a little bit. There we go. We don't want any sharp edges on our heart. So let's continue to just clean these up a little bit. The other thing I'm going to clean up is where some of these loose threads are. So let's clean those up while we're doing this. Get rid of some of those loose threads. So we don't want to see those for sure. There's a little one. It's kind of short. There's a couple. How's that? Pretty good. I think we need to clean that up just a tad bit. Oh, there. So what do you think? Do you think that's pretty good? Now, I think it looks really cute. I love it. Let's go ahead and I have a little thread left on where we were sewing before. I'm just going to put a basic knot in here. Don't look at the back. Don't be critical. I'll just continue to Just try to give this some support before we move to the next step. Oh, get back out of there. Let's just do this and this. Maybe we'll go around a couple more times, just around both strands as a whole. I should make sure I'm not coming through on the front. I'm not. Good. So now let's just try to knot this off on itself. Get out of there. So cut this. Got it right there. Place my needle back out of the way. I'm going to cut this excess off. And so now we've got our hanger. I think it's cute. I think we may end up using the rest of that fabric to make even more hearts. Now, let's get a drink of tea. Very good. Alright, so looks like we want to just trim this up. I want to trim around here, so I'm going to tuck this back here. And you know what? To help me with my trimming, I do think I'm going to pin it into place. I could totally just mark this, trace around this heart, and trim it up. Or do this, just pin the heart onto the piece of fabric, and then we will trim around the fabric, just to get that going. If you have some rotary cutters, that might make this an easy peasy job, but again, the important thing is just to get it done. I am kind of rough cutting it, so I will go back and clean up the edges again. Just round everything off. And then, but it should be close to the right size once we get this little rough cut done, rough cut completed. Here we go. Now, let's just get our little dip. Right, don't want to cut what we've already worked on, so let's just do that. I'm going to take my pins back out. There we go. So now let's just clean this up a little bit. I'm not folding it in half to cut it like a heart. I'm folding it in half just so that I can hold the fabric more securely. So hopefully that makes sense. Let's get, it's not rounded. Let's round that off. Let's round this off. Now let's see if we can get this other side. Oh, that looks pretty good. Pretty good, pretty good. There we go. Just round this off just a tad bit. So finishing up, we are going to, there's several ways we could put this on the back of here. We could put another stitch on it. We could put the pieces back to back, fold them out, and then put a little stitch and make it more of a puffy or more finished heart. I do like the raw edges. I think it's because it was an old quilt piece. I'm going to leave the raw edges exposed. And we are just going to use a little of the Mod Podge Fabric to adhere this, just to add a finishing piece and to hide all of that, all those stitches and everything that are in place. And so let's go ahead and get that on. I have a brush somewhere. Here's my brush. I'm going to set this right here. Move my scissors out of the way. Let's just go around this piece. Make sure we get every little nook and cranny. I don't know that it's necessary, but I always do both pieces. So I will put a nice coating of Mod Podge, fabric Mod Podge, on this piece. Then I will also, it'll stay sticky for a minute, so I have time to work. Get some instant dry glue. Let's just lay this right here for just a second. Now we want to make sure we don't get it on the front of this heart, because this is Mod Podge Fabric is a shiny glue. I think we may have said that once in this video already, but it's not anything that would be attractive with this piece if it were to end up on the front. So let's make sure we keep you out of the way. So that was my husband. He was asking if I would like some green tea. We have been on a green tea kick lately to keep all these dreadful viruses and all the sickness away from this house. I think we are probably good to go. Again, just trying to make sure I don't put that on the front. Let's just take, and there is my cat. I don't know if you can hear him meowing, but I've got a cat meowing in the background. He's wanting to come in for a visit. I have the door shut, and so he is trying to say hello. I'm wondering why he is locked out. We'll have to go remedy that here in just a moment after we get this glued down. I really think that when all is said and done, and this is dry, I'm going to be really happy with this piece. So that brings us to the end of another project, a sweet memory heart. And a lot of times whenever you're crafting, you think about, what am I going to do with this? You may have a purpose in mind before you get started, but for me it was more about creating the memory heart than it was about what I was going to do with it. Now I'm thinking I could use it to hang on a drawer pull, possibly include it in a gallery wall. That would be beautiful. Or if I was giving a special gift to someone, something similar to this, I would not give this one away, but something similar to this would be a beautiful addition to a gift. So the person would be receiving 2 gifts in one. So there you go. If you enjoyed today's crafty content and would like to see more, I hope that you will choose to subscribe to my channel and consider being a part of my community on Instagram at The Practicing Crafter. Now, I hope that you plan to go out and create something amazing today and that you will share your creations with me. Have a great day.